The joy of the Lord.
Amen.
Our theme as we move through this year, the joy of the Lord. Today we look at the book of 1 Samuel, chapter number 30. We'll begin reading at verse number 26. And when David came to Ziklag, he sent of the spoil unto the elders of Judah, even to his friends, saying, Behold, a present for you of the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. To them which were in Bethel, and to them which were in South Raymond, and to them which were in Jatir, and to them which were in Aor, and to them which were in Sithma, and to them which were in Eshtamoa, and to them which were in Rekal, and to them which were in the cities of the Jerahmeelites, and to them which were in the cities of the Kenites, and to them which were in Hormah, and to them which were in Khorasan, and to them which were in Atah, and to them which were in Hebron, and to all the places where David himself and his men were wont to harm. Let the church say amen. Amen. Today we want to speak of this theme, joy of the Lord, but from the theme of the joy in sharing. Joy in sharing. Let's take a moment and review how we got to this 30th chapter of 1 Samuel and David. The book of Ruth introduced us to David in the sense that we're told that in Ruth chapter 4, verse 22, that Boaz and Ruth had a little baby boy by the name of Obed. And Obed had a son by the name of Jesse. And Jesse had a son by the name of David. We come over to the book of 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 16 tells us that God has gotten to the point. Saul was the first king of Israel, but Saul was the choice of the people. But God has rejected Saul and has sent Samuel to Jesse's house in Bethlehem to anoint David to be king over his people of Israel. Chapter 17, we're told that David goes out to the battlefield and slays Goliath. David is but a young boy, but yet God is with him. So he's able to accomplish a great thing for the people of God. Chapter 18 of 1 Samuel then transitions and tells us about the friendship of David and Jonathan, how they were close friends. Jonathan was Saul's son and the heir apparent to the throne. And yet Jonathan recognized the call of God, the anointing of God on the life of David, and was in consent with being David's friend, who would never harm him, would do everything that he could to help David. Saul was jealous of David. And the jealousy stemmed from, there was a song that was sung that said, Saul has killed thousands, but David tens of thousands. And as a result, Saul became jealous. Now, here's where we can see where jealousy is not a good thing. All of the tens of thousands that David killed benefited Saul. So he had nothing to be jealous of. And yet, because of his own egoism, he's jealous of David. Chapter 19 then begins with telling us that David has to flee from the presence of Saul. He flees to Samuel. Samuel is the priest, the God-anointed priest that was helpful unto David to give him spiritual bearings. And it is good in life that there are people that we can go to that when we find ourselves in difficult situations, that they can give us spiritual guidance. Amen? Amen. David flees to Samuel, but chapter 20 and 21 tells us that after a while David is on the run again from Saul. And chapter 22 then tells us that David finds himself in a place called the Cave of Adullam. And an interesting thing that happens while David is there, he's on the run, and yet the anointing of God is so upon him that the Bible says in chapter 22, verse number 2, that everyone that was in distress and everyone that was in debt and those that were discontented gathered unto David, and he became a captain over them. Now, here it is, David's on the run. He doesn't have anywhere himself to reside in safety because everywhere he goes, Saul pursues him. And yet, there are people that hear of David and are drawn to David because of what God has put in him. That which God has put in you, can't nobody take it from you. I would say amen. And folk will recognize that godliness that is within. And so David, and the Bible says this about the people who came to him. Now, the people who came to him were not people void of issues themselves. It said, first of all, people who were in distress. They had trouble in their lives. And yet they were drawn to David. Then there were those in debt. Somebody ought to say amen. They owed money to folk and then those who were discontented. There were people who just were psychologically not well off. They were discontented. Nothing could satisfy them. People who, you may ever find some discontented people on your job. No matter what happens, they're unhappy. They are never happy about anything. And yet, those who were in distress, those who were in debt, those who were discontented, were drawn to David. And the Bible says that he became a captain over them. David gave them the kind of leadership that they needed in order that they could overcome the situations that they found themselves in. So here it was, that David in chapter 23 through 26, though they have been drawn to him, he's still on the run. The Bible said there were about 400 men who were drawn to David. Well, chapter 27, because of Saul's persistence in chasing David, David decides that, well, maybe if I leave from the borders of Israel, that Saul will just leave me alone and he won't chase me beyond the borders. And David made a decision. Many scholars look at it and say he made a very poor decision. But I pause there and say, which of us have not made a poor decision? The scholars, the commentators and scholars, they were all over David because he chose to flee from the borders of Israel over into the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines were the historic enemies to the children of Israel. And yet, David, because of Saul's persistence in pursuing him, decided to leave the land of Israel and to go and make camp in the land of the Philistines. And so the chapter 28 and 29 then tell us this. The Philistines, as they were known to do, then arrayed themselves to make war with Israel and Saul. Now, David is living in the land of the Philistines, and he's gotten along with them thus far. And yet, when it's time to go to the battlefield, David and his men get to the rear of the Philistine army. The Philistine leaders recognize once they get to the battlefield that David is with them. And then they raise an objection. They say, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Even though David has been with us and has lived with us and has caused us no trouble, there's a possibility that when David sees Israel on the other side, that despite how bad Saul has treated him, that his heart is with Israel. And as soon as he sees Israel on the other side, he's going to turn on us. We got to send David on back to the camp just to make sure. So they tell David, you can't go to the battlefield with us. And so David and his men mount up and turn around to head back to camp. And chapter 30 then begins with David arriving back at the camp Ziklag. This is where David and his men have been in camp. They get to Ziklag and they find out that the Amalekites, while David and his men have been gone, the the Amalekites have come in and taken all of the wives, the children, and the substance from the camp, and whatever was left, they set it on fire. David and his men, when they arrived back, as you would expect, began to weep. They are overcome with sorrow. But then the weeping of the men turned into finger pointing and blame. The Bible said that they spoke of stoning David. Walk with us, church. David didn't ask them to come follow him. They did it voluntarily. And thus far, things have worked out very well for them. But at the first sign of adversity, they allowed their emotional state to cause them to point a finger at David and even speak of stoning him to death. Has anybody ever turned on you that you've done well for them? Some of y'all need to keep on living because it's coming along. And there's going to be somebody you do well unto them. And as soon as things get bad, just for a minute, they're going to turn on you. But now, handle it the way David handled it. The Bible said that when they went to talking crazy like that, David went and talked to the Lord. David said, now, Lord, what shall I do? Shall I pursue after the Amalekites? The Lord answered David's prayer. And ain't it good that the Lord answered your prayer, y'all? And the Lord ever answered anybody's prayer until today. And our witnesses said the Lord will answer your prayer. The Lord answered David's prayer. The Lord said, pursue. And you're going to overtake them. And you're going to get back everything that they took. Now, how can God guarantee that? Because normally, when the enemy plunders, he wants to steal, kill, and destroy. And yet, you can see the hand of God at work. That even though it's a bad situation right now, God has kept the wives, the children, and all the stuff that when David and his men get there, God already got that thing working. No working with these things, church. You need to hear that today. God got it working. On the way, David tells the men, here's what God said. I'm going to mount up and go. Do what you want to do. They decide, well, they're going to follow David. They get a part of the way. And now the men that follow David, they're about 600. Remember, started out about 400, but they keep coming. They're adding. There are 600 men who follow David. They get to a point where then 200 of the men, the Bible says this, that they are faint and cannot go any farther. They are tired. They cannot, and the scripture is very clear, they cannot go any further. That's chapter 30, verse 10. Well, 200 of them remain there while the other 400 and David pursue the Amalekites. David gets there, handle business, just like the Lord said, and recovers everything and some. Not only does David and the men get back their wives, the children, and the stuff that the Amalekites had taken, but then God then blesses them that they get over and above that which they lost. When you trust God, no matter what the enemy thinks that he has taken taken from you. If you trust God, God is able to give you more than what you think that is took away from you. I just think you believe God alone today. But that's the truth of God's word. Won't you do it? You'll do it. So now they're headed back. David and the 400 are headed back. But when they get to the 200 men who were left behind, the 400 men get attitude. And you got to be careful that when God bless you, you don't get attitude. Here's what the 400 men said. Well, they didn't go all the way. So now they can get their wives back. They get the children back. They get whatever stuff that was taken from them back. But the other stuff over and above, the stuff that God had blessed us with, they can't have none of that. Attitude. Thinking everything belongs to you. Here's leadership. And it would do well for our nation and those in power to understand godly leadership. Here's what David said to the 400. Let me put y'all in check. God gave us the victory. God blessed us to allow our wives to be saved, our children to be saved, and the stuff that we lost to be recovered, and then gave us over and above that. We're going to do right. And y'all, we're going to do right. Now that you're in this verse 18 today, we're going to do right. And God blesses us. God blesses all of us. And everybody ought to be able to share in God's blessing. I want to pray to that. I'm almost there. David recognized that while the 200 may not have gone in this particular battle, there were other battles that they had fought together. Y'all didn't hear with me first 18 days? There were other battles that they had fought together that God had blessed them all. And it would be wrong to start taking sides. David then in verse 26 in the text and close. Look what David does. The scripture doesn't say that David got more than what the others got when they started to split up the spoil. But look what he does. When he gets to Ziklag, when he gets back home, and everything is fine, he sends of the spoil unto the elders of Judah to his friends, saying, behold, a present to you of the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. Judah. This is the land where he's from, Judah. Specifically Bethlehem in Judah was his birthplace. So he sends to the elders of Judah. The name Judah means praise. So he sends of the blessing to a place where God is praised. Amen. Okay, keep walking with me. He sends it to Judah, the place where God is praised. Sends it even to his friends, those back home, those that he may have grown up and played with when he was a little boy. And yet, even though he finds himself in a difficult situation, he has not forgotten from whence he has come. Y'all walking with me in the church. Some people of God, they forget where they came from. Amen. Now you've always had a full cup. God bless you. If you've always had nice clothes to wear, God bless you. But if you could ever remember a day when the cupboard was bare and that God made a way for you, you ought not forget where you came from. If you ever had to double up and when you go to work and when you had to go to church, you ought not ever forget where God has brought you from. And you ought to be ready that whenever God blesses you, he sent some to Bethel. Remember Bethel, when Jacob was headed away from home, he laid down to go to sleep. And he dreamed there was a ladder that reached from earth to heaven. And when he woke up, he said, look at here. The Lord was in this place, and I didn't even realize. And he called the name of the place Bethel, the house of God. David sent some back to the house of God. When God blesses you, don't take everything you got and give it to the world. You ought to bring some back. And you ought to bless. You ought to bless. You ought to bless the house of God. Is good. And then it goes on to name many other places where David, when he was on the run, they showed him kindness. They gave him a piece of bread. They gave him a piece of meat. They gave him whatever it was, grain that he needed. And not just for him, but for all those folks that was following him. David remembered somebody was good to me when I was down in